we haven't been in person in the Bronx since the pandemic, and we were really looking forward to this meeting, to meet you face to face and to engage and to reconnect. So I personally have been handling all the logistics leading up to tonight. We have our sound guys, we have everything in place, and then something like this happens. So let's be prayerful and mindful that, we just have to be ready at all times to deal with and be resilient through whatever comes our way. So tonight, we're going to continue on because you are here and we appreciate your time. We appreciate, our children are back in school. We hope that your children are safe and your families are safe and that you had a great summer. We appreciate just family days. I mean, we visited some of you at your family days this summer, and we took notes. A lot of you approached us. I personally have gone to a few, speaking to the residents and hearing their issues and what they're facing. And we tried to incorporate some of that tonight in our updates. 9/11 was yesterday. We remember it's the 22nd anniversary of 9/11, so we wanted to acknowledge anyone who had been affected by that. And we're here. We have Asha Muldrow, who is our community and resident engagement co-lead, and she's also the lead for our community advisory committee. So she is here on tonight representing the federal monitor team, along with Tamika Williams-Moore, who is our resident ambassador, and she is here as well. She also leads our pest and waste pillar. So they are present tonight to lead us in our monitorship report. So without further ado, I would like to just walk through our agenda really quickly on tonight, just to get us started. We won't be live tonight, but we are recording tonight's meeting, so it will be posted on our YouTube channel this week for us to refer back to. We are always, you're always able to find our public meetings there on YouTube, and you just have to search NYCHA Federal Monitor meetings and you'll find us there. And if you're interested in keeping up with our schedules, you can subscribe and we'll be happy to keep you posted on what's to come. We have the pleasure of hosting tonight's meeting from the Bronx River Community Center, and we want to thank Mr. Floyd Coleman and his team for allowing us to come to use this facility. We had been holding our meetings virtually, as I said, and it's really nice to see everyone face to face tonight. So thank you for coming out. I would like to quickly walk through what's to come with these changes. I am Floretta Hudson. I'm your moderator, and I'm happy to be here. To begin our agenda, we'll be having opening remarks from Norma Saunders, who is the Resident Association President for Bronx River Houses. She's going to give us greetings and thank you. One second, Norma. One second. Let me just walk through. And then I'm happy to introduce you properly. Then we have on the program as well, Alika Amper Samuel, who is our regional administrator for HUD. She is on her way, and she is one of those that is caught up in traffic tonight. But we look forward to hearing from her. We will have updates from NYCHA's VP of Well, he's not here. He's behind traffic as well. That is Captain James Secreto. He is the VP of Public Safety, but he is on the agenda to speak tonight, as well as Samantha Rogers, who is here. Samantha is the resident participation and civic engagement manager, and she's going to speak to us as well. Then we will move on to the monitorship updates, as I mentioned, from Asha and Tamika. And finally, last but certainly not least, we have our Bronx residents who are our key stakeholders and VIPs tonight. And we'll hear from Mr. Robert Hall, who is from Gun Hill. He is our TAP at Gun Hill. We have Dana Eldon also with us. And you, all the Bronx residents who are welcome to address our federal monitor duel on tonight. And we want to hear from you. So if you would like to present a question or comment to the monitor team, Chase Stanford and Sadavia Harrison are at the table in the back. You've probably already met them. And you've probably already signed up with them. If you want to hear, if you hear something throughout the meeting, it might trigger you to, you know what, I really do want to ask a question, or I do want to give a comment. Maybe when you came in, you wasn't quite sure. But please go back to that table, see them, sign up with them. We want to keep in touch with you even after tonight. And and we want to hear what you have to say. We want to know what's going on at your development. We want to hear the issues you may be facing. So please see them tonight. So without further ado, I am happy to give the floor to Ms. Norma Saunders.
I'm sure.
Good evening, everyone. First and foremost, I definitely would in prayer regarding the car accident of our federal monitor and the people that were in the car with him. So definitely keep them in prayer. Make sure that everything is good. I'd just like to thank everyone for coming out. I wish I would have had more ample notice for this, because this would have been a packed house, and we would have definitely had the federal monitor understand what's going on with NYCHA. So definitely for future reference, I hope we get more notice for this. Thank you. Moving on. So now, the people that I really want to speak to not here today. One is the lead. So we have lead here, and we have the lead program here, and it's horrible. We have where I've been working with Tiffany. I can't think of her name. It's in my phone. And we would have them go and they would test apartments, and they would find lead, especially with apartments that have younger children. And they would talk to me. I would speak to the residents, because a lot of them don't want to move out of their houses into a hotel. What I was told is that they would move into a hotel for about a week or 2 weeks the most. And that's not what we've been coming up against. We've been actually coming up against residents living in hotels for over a month. And that's not satisfactory. That's unsatisfactory conditions to have a resident, especially I had a resident who had a son that's quadriplegic in a hotel for a month and a half. So that was totally unsatisfactory, and we definitely need to check into the response time on this lead project, because lead is blaming NYCHA after they resolve the lead issues. NYCHA's supposed to come in, paint, plaster, what have you, and then the apartment's supposed to be turned back over to the residents. And that's not what we're seeing here at Bronx River. We were actually one of the development that had the highest rate of lead. And they started here with the lead program, and then they stopped. And then a new law came out with the percentage of lead that had to be in your apartment with children under a certain age, and they started all over. So that's a big time concern here at Bronx River. And I try to deal with the residents with that situation, but we need help with making sure that when they set a timeline, that they respect the timeline, because no one wants to stay in a hotel for a month and a half, and they still have all their belongings in their apartment. Our second issue is the senior building. I don't know if y'all walked past the senior building when y'all came in here, and the senior building is totally closed. So I don't know if y'all were aware of this situation. 2022, that building kept experiencing the wall busting open with steam. So in that building, in one winter, out of 67 apartments, we had 40 apartments which walls busted open with hot steam. And myself and my son would get these phone calls 2 a.m, 1 a.m. I just had total knee replacement, and we're going over there mopping up water for the seniors. It was on Facebook, We was on the news and everything. So NYCHA deemed the building inhabitable for seniors to live. And they started to relocate the seniors. NYCHA did, I have to give them this, they took off, they actually put on the white glove for these seniors. They treated them like royalty. We met every week. We were having a meeting, and they made it sound fantastic. And we go wherever you want to live, whatever the selection you want to go, we're gonna move you there. We're gonna pack up your boxes. You don't have to do nothing. We're gonna put you in the cab. You're gonna meet your stuff at the building. But they didn't tell us there was no money in the budget. They lied and told us that the building would be fixed in 2.5 to 3 years. Now it's up to 5 to 7 years. These seniors, God forbid, these seniors are not going to live that long to see a brand new apartment. So I've been meeting with the chairwoman, Lisa, and everyone else, and now what they're putting on my plate to discuss with my board and then present it to my seniors is the PAC and RAD or the trust fund. So to me, I think they're forcing this in order to get this building fixed. And it's not fair to these seniors that they're scattered all over. A few of them already passed away. That building was their sanctuary. They worked years and they come and this is where they wanted to live. When I tell you, you walk in that building, whoever's from Bronx River can tell you when you walk in that building, they leave their doors open because they greet one another. Now they're all over the city. We got seniors in Queens. We got seniors in Manhattan, Sotomayor. We got them all over, and they have no one to turn to. A lot of these seniors that left didn't have family members. That was their family. We were their family. They could come out here, and we knew, okay, that person, she forgot where she lived. We know she lived in 1630. Let's walk her there. Now, I don't even know if I'm going to see these seniors ever again. Even though I keep in constant communication with them, it's not fair that now they're being forced to determine whether they should take PAC or RAD or the trust fund. When it's not their fault that NYCHA put Band-Aids on a situation. I've been a TA president for 14 years, and for 14 years, I've been complaining about the pipes. And now it's come to a point where now they had to relocate 68 seniors. In Bronx River, out of that 68 seniors, only 8 residents were moved that remain in Bronx River, and that's because NYCHA claims there's no apartments. There are apartments, but NYCHA has not fixed the apartments. So that's another concern that we have, and I'm going to continue to fight to make sure that they can come back quicker than 8 years. And I hope that with the help of everyone in here, I don't care where you're from, if you have a resource or whatever, and you can help with this situation, just look in the mirror and say, wow, that could have been my grandmother, that could be my grandfather, that could be my uncle. We have to respect our elders. I'm a firm believer of that. But to have these seniors nowhere, and it's sad, and it's really a tearjerker. So, yeah. Now, as far as my residents here, we have a lot of issues in Bronx River. Number one is that call center. So, y'all really, really, really need to do something regarding that call center. There's no way in the world I make a call and say, I have a hole in my wall, there's a leak, the water's coming through, and you tell me that somebody will be there in 48 hours. So in 48 hours, I'm flooded. I done used every towel and sheet and comforter in my apartment. Now I got to wash clothes. That's another expense. But anyway, they come, and then they tell you no one was home. I really think that's not fair to people that stay home from work, stay home from school, just stay home, period, if they have a life and they might be out. Someone need to go somewhere. So I know y'all have heard this several times. I know this is not your first meeting. I've seen your meetings. I've participated when you're on COVID time, and this is not the first go around. I know for the Federal Monitor, but it needs to be taken serious. This is people's livelihood. Some people doesn't have the money to go get this nice house with the white picket fence. You know, that's in my dreams. I wake up and I say, "Dag, I'm still in Bronx River." But I love Bronx River. Born and raised in Bronx River has never done me dirty, and I love Bronx River. And I'm going to fight for my residents. I'm going to fight for that senior building. But one thing I want to say to you guys, and I mean from any housing development, Federal Monitor, it doesn't matter. I know you're getting ready to give me the...
I had a question for you, but go ahead.
I thought you was getting ready to give me the hat. You know. No, I'm sorry. We need to start becoming soldiers and create an army, and stop becoming chiefs and thinking that we know everything. Because we're still in Bronx. I'm in Bronx, but we're still in NYCHA. And we all need to get together and fight. And when we have these little rallies and stuff, we need to fight in front of every NYCHA development that have issues. And if y'all don't think I'm serious, I guarantee you, now that I just put that on the floor, I guarantee you're going to see the first fight and the first rally here at Bronx River. Because until we grasp this and get control of how we live, we got to always keep being the victims with no helping in sight. So we need to start fighting. We need to start holding. I love you guys. This is not personal. We need to start holding our politicians and accountable. You know, let them know y'all got to get out there and fight with us. Okay, I know they in Albany. I'm good friends with all of them. I know they fight for us in Albany, but they also got to be out here walking the street with us and seeing the living conditions that we go through. And my guy here is from safety here. I'm getting ready to get on him now. So I just want to let y'all know, be ready, Bronx River. Y'all better grab every neighbor, and if we gotta go to another development, if y'all want us to come and march and walk with y'all let us know. And guarantee you, I'll bring our residents out there to walk with y'all. But we gotta set the tone, and we gotta let you guys know we are gonna create an army, and we want NYCHA to understand we pay our rent. Some of us. We pay our rent. And we have to respect where we live at. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So my question is, because Mr. Brownell, he did bring up the senior center. Senior building
Yes.
to the monitor team. I just wanted to get your perspective. You've been fighting for this. What was the last status you received regarding that issue?
So I just had a meeting with Lisa, Eva, Trimble, the HUD, Mr. Sherrod, and they actually took me on a tour of Baychester to see what RAD and PAC was about. They showed me the apartments. Listen, it's beautiful because I know how Baychester was. It's amazing, but I feel like the seniors shouldn't be forced into that. They should be able to. This is their fault. It's not the fault of the seniors. So the last time, I didn't mean to avoid your question, was 2 weeks ago. So the last time that we had a meeting was 2 weeks ago.
Thank you, Norma. Can just by a show of hands, who else have had issues with the CCC? CC. Call in a work order and you don't get...
She's saying who has problems with the call center.
Yeah, the call
center. CCTV, it's call center.
The call center. Yeah,
the call center is when you call. I know they go by the call center.
Okay.
They go by the 707. Who has problems when y'all call that 707 number?
Okay. We have it. We're taking notes tonight. And we always follow up. We really do follow up. I know that we haven't been acquainted, you and I personally, Ms. Saunders, but I'm hearing you tonight, and we're going to follow up this week. Thank you. Let's give her a hand, everybody.
You're lucky. Yeah. I was coming for you next.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. So we are looking forward to getting an update from Alika Amper-Samuel, our HUD RA. But we're going to move on to Mr. Secreta. Do you want some time, or do you want to switch with Samantha? Because I saw you just walking in the door. Yeah? You're going to switch? Okay. Come on, Samantha. Let's give her a hand.
Hello.
Good evening.
I live in the Bronx too. Harlem, born and raised, but I live down the street. But anyway. But my name is Samantha Rogers. I am a manager in the Resident Participation and Civic Engagement Department, formerly known as Resident Engagement Department. And so I'm here to talk to you just a little bit about resident participation and civic engagement and 2 other initiatives that we are involved in. And so, as you know, with the Resident Participation and Civic Engagement Department, we can go to the next slide. You as resident leaders, you have a coordinator assigned to you. So we have revamped that position. And we now call those coordinators neighborhood service coordinators. And they are divided up and assigned to you now by neighborhoods. So you've probably heard a lot about the neighborhood model that NYCHA has developed since the transformation plan. And this model is being implemented all across NYCHA for anyone resident facing. And the reason why we have transitioned to this model is so that the neighborhood service coordinators can more finely address issues in the community, in the surrounding community. Previously, a coordinator may be assigned to you, someone in the Bronx, a resident leader in the Bronx, but also be assigned to a resident leader in Manhattan, and they're stretched really far, and they're not giving you the quality that you deserve. And so now with this new model with neighborhood service coordinators, if you can kind of see our little org chart here, the neighborhood service coordinators will now be focused on developments that are closer together to give you a more quality experience. We've also aligned their duties so that one coordinator is not doing something different than another. So all of them should have the same duties, and you should get all the same quality and equality staff and labor and attention from every single person that is in that title. So this is our new org chart, and we hope that this is a better experience for you. All right. And then resident participation and civic engagement. Again, this is different. We were formerly the Resident Engagement Department. We have a broad base. So we changed our name to Resident Participation and Civic Engagement. And our mission is to empower NYCHA residents to participate in decision-making processes and ensure residents' needs and concerns are integrated into NYCHA's transformation plan. So you all know we're under transformation, right, under the guidance of the federal monitors team. And so a part of implementation of that transformation plan is looking inward in NYCHA and trying to make sure that we take resident voice in implementing transformation. We understand from a landlord perspective what is going on, but we shouldn't be making these decisions in a vacuum. We should be making these decisions with the voice of residents. And so a part of resident participation and civic engagements, 5 key areas is overseeing the elections. We still will help in doing that because we believe wholeheartedly in resident advocacy, but also one thing that I'm passionate about and that I manage personally is the resident-facing groups. So that is the CCOP, the Resident Roundtable, and also the Resident Advisory Board. So that's another key area of focus for us. And then the other focuses for us is supporting NYCHA initiatives and projects, administering the TPA and Councilmatic funds, of course, and then implementing programs. And so one of those resident-facing groups that I manage is the Resident Roundtable. So some of you may be familiar with that. It is the next slide. And in June of 2021, written into the transformation plan was a roundtable. Resident voice. I said this maybe 5 times before, but we are really, really serious at NYCHA about implementing resident voice into the transformation plan. And so the roundtable consists of 32 residents representing, again, 30 residents from the 30 neighborhoods that are outlined in the neighborhood model, and then 2 residents from RADPAC. So we don't want that resident voice to be lost when a development converts to a RADPAC. So we still have resident voice from a RADPAC initiative, a RADPAC conversion on the roundtable. And so that is still going. It's going strong. There are lots of recommendations and suggestions that have come into implementation since the roundtable started back in June of 2021. And they are currently still going strong, still working on coming up with more suggestions, keeping NYCHA accountable to the promises that were made in year 1 of Roundtable, and doing all of that follow-up work to make sure that resident voice is still paramount in NYCHA decision-making. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk to you about tonight is in all of these resident-facing groups, and I've never sat in a resident-facing meeting and didn't hear that there's a need for mental health services across NYCHA. And so I am happy to announce tonight that we are finally trying to address mental health and connecting those resources within NYCHA. And so 2 residents from each borough will sit on this task force. There was a call for applications for people to volunteer to sit on this task force, and then some follow-up was done, and so hopefully we'll be able to finalize those 2 residents from each borough, and we'll have 10 residents sit on this task force, and they will meet monthly, and hopefully within a month or so we'll be able to announce this and launch it officially. And so those are my updates from resident participation and civic engagement tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Rogers. She touched on a number of things. Do I have any questions from the audience from our presentation? Sure. Sorry, coming to you.
We haven't had a tenant meeting since 2015. Yet, the PAC program is in our development. My question is, how does the PAC program get into the development without the residents voting them in? And then, because of that, we've got nothing but empty apartments in our development. If you know of our development, we're very unique. We're like the army barracks from the 40s, and they're little houses. And a lot of apartments are being vacated, squatters around, drugs are being infested in there, and no tenant president available. How is that?
So I'd like to take your information, because what is supposed to happen?
Can you come and take her information for me, please?
When a development is converting, right, that is supposed to be voted. Right, so to hear that there wasn't a meeting since 2015 is really startling to me, because that is not supposed to happen. Right, that's not supposed to happen. You're supposed to vote, and also during the conversion process, you vote on everything in that conversion process. You vote on what type of cabinets you want, what type of floors, what the outside is going to look like, what the inside is going to look like, right? And that is all done based on the board and all of the residents' input. So I'll take your information.
Thank you.
And follow up with you, because that's not supposed to happen.
She didn't want PAC from the beginning. So how is it that it came into our development if she didn't want it and she never had a meeting? How did they come in?
Is she referring to who was in the seat as maybe the resident leadership? Is that who she? When you say she, are you referring
the president,
to who
the tenant president, the tenant president.
Right.
Yes.
And so, okay. And was there a vote then amongst residents?
Never. I'm telling you, we haven't had a meeting since 2015.
Yeah, that's
and she was just reelected again last year.
And okay,
So,
I was going to
Samantha,
my next question was
yeah.
going to be, has there been elections since then? Because
We haven't had an election.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna take this offline. We have Chris Fasano with us tonight, just to help us to make sure that we connect with people like you that have an issue that has a lot of detail. We want to make sure that we get all of the details, because there are questions, behind what you're telling us tonight, which we had no idea. So we want to get to the bottom of it. Chris is going to take your information so we can follow up with you, give you a call tomorrow so we can get everything down, and then we can follow up with Samantha. We want to be more engaging tonight, so if you hear something that affects you directly, then we'll get your questions in, but let's try to keep it to 2 minutes if we can. And then we also have the segment at the very end of the agenda where it's an open floor for more questions and comments, but we're going to try to engage you throughout. Samantha, thank you. Let's give her a hand. Thank you. James Secreto is here. He is our VP of Public Safety, and we want to give him room for this time for his update. Thank you. Let's give him a hand.
Good evening, everyone. Hey, Rev, how are you? I'm James Secreto. I'm the Vice President of the Office of Public Safety. I've been in that position almost 2 years. Prior to that, I was with the police department for 40 years, NYPD. I grew up in public housing, in the Albany houses in Brooklyn. I was the commander of PSA 3, and in my last 5 years of the police department, I was the chief of the Housing Bureau, the cops that cover all the PSAs. So when this position opened up, about 2 years ago, my phone was ringing off the hook that you would be perfect for this position. You lived in housing, you was policed in housing. And so with that being said, I applied for the job and I got the job. It's been hard though. There's a lot of issues, and I'll talk about some of them. But recently I was tasked when I first got in to come up with a safety plan. And we finally finalized it. Formally finalized it, but it's things that we had been doing, at least at the Public Safety Office have been doing since 2010. So we go into developments. The goal is to go to every development and to make them safer for the workers, for the visitors, for the guests, for the delivery people. So we go to the developments. We go from the rooftop down to the basement, check lighting, doors, homeless situation, the security guards, the radios, whether their radios work, quality of life issues, what have you. We do a report, we give it to the management, and they have to correct whatever deficiencies we find. They have to correct them in 30 days. And even though we've been doing that, this report is kind of on steroids. It's more extensive than how we had been doing it. It was approved by the monitor, by HUD, by my bosses. And so far this year, I think we've done 81. Last year we did 109. Last year we did 81. Our goal is to do every development each year. It's a tall task because, again, last year we did 109. This year we're up to 81. But I've been promised some more people so that we could do more. When we go to the developments, we have usually 2 teams so we can cover more buildings. And if I have more people, I'd be able to do more. One of the other things is the homeless initiative. We've been doing that now for about a year and a half. And what that does, there was a memorandum of understanding last year, and the difference that allowed us was that the memorandum of understanding is Police Department, NYCHA, and Department of Homeless Services. prior to that memorandum of understanding being signed, Department of Homeless Services would not enter the developments. So the police, NYCHA, or mostly the police, would have to bring any homeless people encountered outside to speak with the Department of Homeless Services, DHS. That memorandum of understanding allowed them to now come inside and encounter homeless people in the developments. So this year, I think we're up to what's today? Tuesday? 50. Today it makes 50. It's not a lot, it's only 2 a week. On Tuesdays, we go out at 6 o'clock at night to the development that's selected. Wednesday night, 9 o'clock. And of course, people are going to say, well, that's not the best time to encounter homeless people, right? And you're right. And that was my argument. The problem is Homeless Services is the lead agency. And they've allocated us a team of their social workers and mental hygiene people on those 2 days and those 2 times. So we could go with PD, but we wouldn't be able to do what Homeless Services does. And what they do is offer maybe mental health services, drug treatment, shelter. Police department is not really equipped to do that, nor is NYCHA. So all we would be doing is pretty much telling them to leave. So right now, that's what we have. It's 2 times a week. It was 1 time a week prior to about, like earlier this year, we upped it to 2 days a week. And hopefully we can do more. So, and how we select the developments is either 311 complaints, complaints from the tenant association, police department. Sometimes I get emails with photos of homeless conditions, and then we put them on the list and we go out. Some of the other things, Samantha talked about the resident roundtable, right? Now, a lot of times I attend the resident roundtable, usually a call, virtual call. But one of the things that impressed me on one of these calls was that they talked about a survey that was conducted. And in this survey, they asked NYCHA residents, do they feel safe in the housing developments? And they asked, and that pretty much was the answer. 67% of the people surveyed said they don't feel safe. 100% of the people in RAD and PAC said they felt safe. So my question was, why such a difference? Why such a vast difference? And what they told me was, in RAD and PAC, when they come in, the management comes in the morning, and they see that a door was broken overnight, a window was broken overnight. They send, if they can identify that person who did this or the tenant that they were visiting that's responsible for this person, they would give a lease violation notice to that tenant. They would give a lease violation notice, and they could do anything from charging them for the damage or just giving them a warning that the next time this is on us. And I was like, wow, why don't we do that? And so that's one of my goals. I've been marginally successful, and I'll go a little further. I went and saw how their security team is called Reliant. They do the security for a lot of the RAD and PAC. And they gave me a presentation, and what they said is same thing. When they see some damage in the morning, they look at the cameras. But they have cameras on every floor, and they can pretty much, and I'll get to that in a minute, they can pretty much trace the offender, the vandal, to an apartment. So, because they have elevators on every floor, staircases, lobby, elevator, rooftop. So if you break a door and you get an elevator, you go to the 13th floor, you go to apartment 13C, they can trace you all the way to that. And they generate that lease violation notice and tell you your son, your daughter, your tenant broke our door. We got pictures to prove it, video, whatever. We're charging you the $300 or whatever. So why doesn't NYCHA do that? And NYCHA has a different policy, and I'm not going to here to say whether it's good or bad. They don't want to put cameras on the floors because they feel it's a violation of privacy for the tenants or whatever, and they have stopped short of putting cameras on the floors. But with that being said, we still can address these lease violation offenses. And so, for example, and I see the Reverend here, on January 10th, we went over to Sotomayor, 1471 Watson, and the Reverend Hernandez told us that the door had been broken for several months. That was January 10th. We fixed that door, not me, but the Bronx operations people. They fixed the door that day. That night, someone from the building broke the door. As we see, and that building has brand new cameras, brand new crystal clear cameras, and you could see this guy back up to the door, boom, 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 and he breaks the door. Took us a little while to identify who he was, but he was a resident's brother, and we wound up arresting him. And that's another thing too. That's the 43rd precinct. And let me go back a little bit. In my time in the police department, one of the reasons that they hired me and the value that I have is that I'm a liaison to the police department. So I can call up the 43rd precinct, I know the commander. I can call PSA 8, PSA 7, I know the commanders. But with that being said, the 43rd precinct, I'm sure they got a lot of robberies. I'm sure they got shootings, they got murders. Jimmy Secreto's calling them up and say, I got a broken door. I have to get them to see the priority in that. It took me a little while, but they made the arrest. It took a couple of months. And that's one of the things I see. That we got real crimes, because the detectives got to investigate that. And these guys always say they're busy, whatever. That's important to me, but I don't know that, they have that same priority. So that's, one of my tasks. What else? We're extending, I'll get you. I see everybody didn't like the fact that NYCHA does not put cameras on the staircase, on the landings, on each floor. We have 41 developments that the PSAs or whatever can look on their monitors and see the footage live, right? So one of them that comes to mind is Vladeck. Vladeck, they can look at the camera. PSA 4 can look at what's going on in real time. We just signed another MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with the police department to add 19 more developments. I didn't bring the list with me. I don't know who's on it, and maybe that's better, I don't know. 19 more developments that will give us 60 developments that the police can look at it live and see something going on. And that could help PD when we have, not just cameras are good for an investigation, but there's sometimes when they're dealing drugs in the lobby that they can be able to see it real time, that type of thing. But NYCHA was a little reluctant to let PD have all that, access to what the cameras and everything. But it was a positive thing, and it went through. But still, they're not crazy about putting cameras on every floor. What's some of the other things? The e-bikes and the gas bikes. We reach out to PD. They're dangerous, even though when I was a kid I had one, a mini bike, and I kept it in my living room, but that was probably 50 years ago. Too late now to come after me. But those things are very dangerous now. We've had, these electronic batteries have caused deaths, and those fires are very powerful fires. The fire department takes hours sometimes to put those fires out. So we've been reaching out to the police department, and they come and take them away. If you get to the precinct in a decent amount of time, you may be able to get it back. But for the most part, people are losing their bikes or whatever because they're bringing it up to the 6th floor, they're leaving it downstairs, and that's pretty much it. What else? I grew up in Albany houses in Brooklyn, and that's another thing. Amazon lockers, right? I seen somewhere, I don't know where it was today, that residents are getting their packages stolen. So Amazon, some places, they come and they leave it in the lobby, and they leave. And they take a picture, like, what does that picture mean? If once they leave, people can take it. So what we've been doing is coupled up with Amazon, and we've been putting lockers in some of the developments. The lockers go outside. They were 3 feet by 6 feet. Now some of the bigger ones, 6 feet by 6 feet. And so you order a package, you get a barcode, and you go to the locker, you display your barcode, and the locker opens up and you get your package. So at first, the developments were in the Lower East Side. So I got a lot of heat. Why didn't you come to the Bronx? Why didn't you go to Brooklyn? So we started reaching out to the other boroughs. I would like to come up here, Norma, if you're interested. But the first person we ask is the tenant president. And if they say, yeah, she does. So, listen, the tenant president, and we've had some tenant presidents that said, no, we don't want it. And
Test.
yeah, so if you want it, you're the first voice that we're going to hear, and we'll come up here. They measure. They got to go outside. They can't go inside the lobby or whatever. They go outside. And so my point was I went to Albany Houses the other day. Miriam, I'll get you in 1 minute. I went to Albany Houses on Friday where I grew up, and I was saddened because I remember the Albany Houses being like beautiful. And I have pictures of signs on the grass that says keep off the grass, and the grass was green and everything was beautiful because it was built in the 50s, 52. I'm born in 57, so it was like 10 years old when I was there. Now it's 70 years old, and it's been a hard 70 on Albany Houses as other developments. And I was saddened by the way it looked. But I say that to say, listen, I grew up here. I got a stake in what happens in housing, and I'm here to make it better. And I've had some challenges, as Norma, you could probably attest that it's not as easy as like when I was on the outside looking in. It's not as easy. One of the other things, we have pit bulls. Like I had a little puppy. And it was a beagle. A beagle is like a hunting dog, and I had a puppy, and a neighbor dropped a dime on me. I had to get rid of my puppy. But now people got pit bulls and all kinds of stuff, and recently we've had people mauled. We had a 10-year-old, 11-year-old mauled in Smith House about 2 weeks ago, and we was able to get that dog. But some of the dogs we can't get them. So, like there was one up here in the Bronx. There was an older gentleman. He's 80 years old. He went to the hospital first, and he didn't call. They didn't call the police till he got out of the hospital, like a week later. And they say, "Well, the emergency's over. You can't go and get the dog." And that's what we're faced with. We couldn't get the dog. So we've had a couple, and recently some people have their dogs on the roof. And the workers go upstairs to work in the elevator room or whatever, and they got to run because there's pit bulls loose on the roof. So that's another thing that, we're facing. And, we're working with PD. I do have a good relationship with them to try and get some of these things, handled. But it's just some of the things that we face. So with that, if you have questions, I know Miriam, you have one. You're going to.
Thank you so much. Okay, who should I start with? Well, first of all, thank you, Chief Secreta, for your time. Let's give him a hand, everybody. You've touched on so many issues that have come through our pre-registration, from homelessness to safety. Safety and security is the biggest issue. We know that. Broken doors, all of these things. The pit bulls, so many issues. So we're going to take one question here.
It's not always Amazon. It's that company Shein and Temu that they're stealing the packages from, because there's some Chinese people that they'll go by their mailboxes, leave the package, and of course you got the pirate guys, that they look out and they'll go to the apartments and they'll steal the packages. But we have our cameras, and you need to come over to Monroe, because there's some issues over there between homeless. There's also the graffiti with these guys. There was people on the roof, and yes, I did tell my Gutierrez. But you see, the problem is that you can't be seen. They can't see the cars because you have two buildings, 1762 and 1760. and then they use their phones and they'll call one another and they'll go down the other side and go down to the stairways. They won't get busted. And the graffiti is disgusting. The homeless, and then they're recruiting from one development to another development, and they're getting younger and younger and younger. So, and we have the cameras inside the elevators where Officer Moran, I gave her the blueprints to do. They're on both elevators, back door, outside the back door, and 2 in the lobby and 1 outside, and all the circumference around. So you really need to come and check it out.
Okay, now you have my number. You have my number, and you can talk to me anytime, but I will do that. I will do that.
Thank you.
One of the things that I didn't speak about is the doors, right? And when I come to these developments, we do a walkthrough. I would say like 60 to 70% of the doors are broke. And although I'm not in charge of the doors, it's security, and I feel that I responsible. So I've, presented something to my bosses to let me get involved in helping with the doors, and, I'm waiting for them, to give me the green light. But some of the doors, it's not like a real big thing. It's just maybe the handle is broke. So what I would like to do, no, I'm not saying all of them, but I'm saying some of them. And I've seen it. So Hernandez houses, right? 189 Allen. The TA president was calling, saying this door is always broke. So I go over there, and sure enough, the door's broke. I see a bunch of kids going in there. And I'll talk about that too. The kids, they don't go to school, they go inside the nature buildings. And I called my guy, and he says, I'll come over, take a look. And it was the handle. All they had to do was change the handle. But what a lot of times the property managers do, the supers do, they come, they see the door, and they call up for the vendor. Now, the vendor got to take a couple of weeks to come, and then they got to look at the door and say, oh, it needs this, it needs that. Now it takes a couple of more weeks for them to come with the part and fix it, when sometimes just a handle or something. So I would like to be able to do that, and, I think that would help.
Well, we got a lot of noise with the broken doors. How many broken door issues are in the building tonight? That's the majority in the room.
100. Now, one of the other things, and this may not be that popular, but, and it came up at the Reverend's meeting maybe 2 weeks ago, like, people need to be held accountable. Like, the people break the doors, and I've seen it in Taft houses, right, in Harlem. The guy, they fixed the door, and like less than an hour later, the guy's on video breaking the door. Now, his bad luck was that the cops knew him. So when I showed them the video, they said, oh, that's Joe Smith. We know him, and they went and arrested him. And listen, I don't want a lot of people arrested. That's not my goal. But I would like to be like the PAC and RAD people that change behavior. So if you know, like, wow, somebody's looking at these cameras, man. Joe Smith got arrested yesterday. Maybe the word gets out that somebody is, like, looking at these cameras. Now, we just, last Friday, I think, in Staten Island, they locked up a lady. She's on video breaking the door 2 times, Toad Hill. And I kept calling them. I kept calling PD like, yo, I know y'all got murders and stuff. Can y'all lock this lady up? She's on camera with a hammer in her hand breaking the door. They did go and get her. She didn't like it. She blamed, like, the management and everything for her getting arrested, but it was your fault you got arrested. You shouldn't have did that. So I just want the word to get around. Hey, they watch the cameras. Don't damage the doors. Don't do this. Don't do that.
We want to take another question just for safety and security before we move on.
Hi, my name is Sharon Myers. I'm the TA president for Building 1010, Murphy Consolidated. A lot of the stuff that you addressed, I never heard of. Never heard of it.
What?
I never heard that the police come and they go up and down the building. Ain't nobody coming to our building.
Now, you're what, Murphy Consolidated?
Murphy Consolidated. Nobody comes to our building. You know what I'm saying? Some other stuff that you addressed. The homeless, the mental health, all that. We got that all in our building. People shitting all over the place, pissing all over the place. You know, the bricks is falling off the wall. Listen, I've been in Murphy Consolidated 33 years. It's going on 34 years I've been there. And I'm coming from Brooklyn, Brownsville. And I was so happy to get out of there, to come over here to the Bronx and say, look what I'm moving in. I'm moving in a fantastic building. But honestly think from my heart, your guys is leaving us out. Because we're living like shit. And we only one building. Our doors always pop. We don't have no cameras. We ain't got no cameras. Cameras, you say cameras in the elevator? We don't even have elevators half of the time.
All right. Hey,
We
listen.
need to get her information for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to give you my information.
Yeah.
I'll take
make
responsibility for some things, not because you don't have an elevator,
Yeah.
though. But yeah.
Well, what she's saying is she doesn't have the resources that you're mentioning.
Okay.
And so we will address
All right.
that.
One of the things too that somebody decided was a good idea a long time ago. Some of the developments are covered by the police precinct and not the PSA.
Ms. Samuels, why don't you come here?
Even in, say, Morrisania Air Rights, they got 4 buildings. 3 are covered by PSA 7, and 1 is covered by the 4-4. It complicates things a little bit, but that's not the problem there. I'll find out who covers that. And
Chris is going to take your information because we definitely need to get your details. We definitely need to get your details.
I will come there. I will get your address and come there.
And Chief, you mentioned, we're talking about the CCTV cameras, and this might be a really good segue into our Q&A at large for the residents, because we have Robert Hall here, who's from Gun Hill, and his development was just awarded monies for cameras at his development. So I wanted to get his experience and let's see how that's going. But thank you, Chief Secreto.
Can I just give my information and?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to give everybody my phone number and my email, so you don't have to wait until 100 people are together to yell at me.
Yeah.
You can yell at me any day you want. And that's, all right, so it's james.secreto@nitre.nyc.gov, and my number is 646-960-1352. 646-960-1352. Tell them.
And we'll
Tell
make
them.
sure
And
that over the next few days, as I mentioned, that this meeting is recorded and it will be on our YouTube channel for us to revisit this information tonight, including Chief Secreto's contact information. We will follow up. So Chris is with the young woman right now, and we'll continue to. Yes,
And,
if you could leave that on.
Okay.
I'm gonna take that tonight, Chief. Let's give him a hand, everybody. I know this is a major issue for everyone, and we are not taking it lightly. Believe me. Mr. Hall, can you just touch on your CTV funding? Just take the mic.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, this is very important. All of this, the communication, this has been a major problem, especially in this district. And I'm very glad, I'm very thankful that we were able to get Bronx River. I want to thank Norma Saunders and Mr. Coleman and everyone else. It's very important that this transparency take place. You want to know about cameras? They talked about cameras not being on each floor. There's a civil violation with regards to human rights. You cannot have a camera point at any particular apartment. It's a violation of one's civil rights. That's number one, which causes problems in some housing developments based on how the development is built. If it's built in a certain manner, you can only have the cameras point towards the staircases, and in some instances, it's not effective. So you have to keep that in mind when we start talking about cameras. But let's go back to the leadership, because, everything starts with home. This North Bronx is a composite of about 30 to 40 housing developments. And we're heading in different directions. We got PAC, we got RAD, we got the trust, and we all have our own say. We have a lot of problems. We have a lady sitting there, she's saying the TA president's saying one thing, and the residents are saying something else. All of these things have to be put together. But in order for it to be put together, you have to have this type of transparency. It's very important. But it's important that everyone listen, because the problem that you don't listen to, it's going to come back to get you. And if you haven't heard it before, you don't concentrate on it, that's when it sneaks up on you, all right? This has been a major problem, all right? One of the reasons we even have this is because in each development, according to our 964s, 964.135 indicates for any development to go into any other situation such as PAC or RAD or the trust, the residents, and now the residents are the people who are supposed to make that decision. The problem is this: you haven't been heard. A lot of this was done during the pandemic, and you didn't realize what was going on. So this is where we're at. We've backed up. But when I heard the story about the seniors in Bronx River houses, see, that's man's inhumanity to mankind. When you take people out of their environment and put them elsewhere, it's very problematic. It's very, very problematic. And it does make you want to get up. But if you're going to fight, you got to use this. And I'm telling you, if you're going to fight, it's got to be an intellectual battle. All right? You have TA presidents, they're non-paid servants. They're power people. They're power people, but they don't get paid. In fact, most of you think they stole money. The fact of the matter is, we were a lot more unified in previous years. We used to meet, talk about our problems, and set up action plans. That has gone by the wayside, but we have to come back to that, ladies and gentlemen, just to make a long story short. All right? As we lend ourselves to cameras, it is incumbent that the presidents try to ascertain cameras from the elected officials. It is very, very important. And you have all the crime statistics to indicate why you need them. So that should not be a problem. But it's incumbent upon the association collectively, not dividedly, collectively to advocate for that. And just be mindful of the unification, because there is strength in numbers when you're unified. We can agree to disagree, but it's very important that you understand, in some instances, the best interests of where you live is what's at stake. So please try to unify on certain instances, even when it lends itself to cameras. All right? Ms. Saunders, you have a question.
I just want to ask you, I know you went through your elected official to solidify funding for your cameras, right? How long did it take for your elected official to tell NYCHA that they're going to give them the money? How long did it take for NYCHA to turn over the funding for you to get your camera?
All right, that's a very good question. And what I want to tell you, what the Federal Monitor has done and what they've been working on, I'm sorry Edna Handy is not here. They are trying to get a tracker. This tracker will let you know of all of your capital projects, which include your cameras. All right, it will give you just what your development has, and NYCHA will have the funding. It will be made known, and it will help get the problem out of the way.
I understand what you're saying, Ron.
Yeah.
I appreciate what you're saying, but still, how long did NYCHA take to turn around the funding for you to get the cameras? I respect the federal.
I didn't. Yeah.
But we've won grants. We have a computer room, $55,000 computer room
That's abominable. I'm going to say, and I don't have a time limit, but I'm going to tell you, all right? With the acquisition of this tracker, I could safely tell you it should be like a year and a half, max, all right? I don't know if it's been perfected. Okay, all right? I'm going to let Dana Eldon tell you more about the tracker, but that should ease this misery. And you're right, you should not have to wait 5 years. And I get that, all right? And while they take money from somewhere else and do brickwork to calm you down. So I know the game. I know the okie doke. But this tracker should help. But I'm going to let Ms. Eldon talk about that, okay?
We appreciate it. Thank you so much. And Miss, no, give me 1 second. Go ahead. We're good. I will get to you, ma'am. Just give me 1 second, because I just want to get to all the residents tonight. Thank you, Mr. Hall. Miss Eldon, come on up, honey. We want to make sure that we hear from the Bronx leadership tonight, and she was so happy to give us her time. Okay. Right.
Insurance. So good evening.
Good evening.
Okay. Keeps falling down. All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Dana Eldon. I'm the TA president from St. Mary's Park Houses. I am the secretary for the executive board of South Bronx District. I'm also on the committee for CCOP bylaws revisions. I'm also a board member for Residents to Preserve Public Housing, which started in 2018 due to the blueprint that was produced by NYCHA and Greg Russ. And I'm here to share a few things with you. And I'm glad to see Chief Secreto, who I've known for over 35 years when I was with the police department myself. He's a good guy, a very good guy. And they couldn't have done any better with getting him. But to fix all the problems security-wise, it will never happen for many of us, and that's a reality. Because some of the materials that are used in our doors were aluminum. These magnetic locks, they take the magnets out, and that is many developments. So money was wasted on a lot of the equipment that is used within our developments. So first, I want to address Bronx River. You guys did a bang-up job. I love it, and applauds to you. And I would like to talk to you privately. So the pressure of the senior displacement at Bronx River is an issue that should affect all of us. And I say that because we're in a state now of RAD and PAC conversions and trust conversions, all Section 8 based, where it seems like an elimination of Section 9, which is federally funded every year. Don't let them tell you that it's not. It is. So with Section 8, I have you know that the 964 regulations that Mr. Hall spoke about, which protect you, do not apply to Section 8. And the assembly bill that they had go before the assembly and approve, say that they will adopt the language, they could tell you anything. They can't protect you like Section 9 will. And I'm going to leave it at that. But at the end of this, I'm going to give you all my number. You can call me whenever. I also represent RPPH, Residents to Preserve Public Housing, and we meet every other Sunday online on a Zoom meeting. So if I give you my name and number and you call me tomorrow or a couple of days from now, I'll give you the information to attend our meetings where you could be further equipped. We also will be marching this Sunday in the African American Parade on the 17th in Harlem. We'll start at 110th Street and we'll go up to 137th Street. handing out information about public housing and the decimation of public housing in NYCHA, because NYCHA is definitely disseminating their responsibilities to our developments by handing them off to private managements who don't owe you anything. And at the end of the day, when they get tired of having you there in their developments, they will put you out one way or another. And that's a reality, because they're not going to make it all pretty and nice for you and let you stay there. That's not going to happen. These are private entities. They want to make their money, and they can't get that if we're not paying market rent. Keep that in mind. We're not paying market rent. In my development, I have a lot of people paying market rent, and I think that's the only reason why NYCHA doesn't push me with this conversion, because it was a development that you had to make a certain amount of money to live there. So when they opened the door to Section 8, they limited it to only 211 apartments. Yeah, so we got away with that. CCOP. One of the problems that we have is that our CCOP committee, our head CCOP people, from Danny Barber down, in that grouping, Manhattan North, Manhattan South, Brooklyn East and West, and so on, they don't come back and they tell you anything. And that's a problem. So I'm on this committee now to make sure that that doesn't happen anymore, because you need to know everything, not just what NYCHA tells you, because NYCHA is not already going to tell you the truth. They're going to tell you their side, because this is an agency, it's a business. It's purely a business. And NYCHA says, oh, well, we own the land. We're not giving up. We own the land. Yeah, they're going to make their money anyway. But they don't want to, well, I put it this way. It's like shirking your responsibility. If somebody tell you got to watch this kid from 9 to 3 and you skirt out at 1:30, same thing NYCHA's doing. So that's my opinion. As for the resident table, round table, I am totally against the resident round table, and for one reason only. Those who I've seen listed on that round table team have no idea what's going on with NYCHA and the issues that residents have. None. In very few places. There's a lady who represents my development. I've never seen or heard of her, only her name. And she's never been to my development. So how can she defend me? How can she represent the opinions of my development? And the same thing goes to each one of you. Who is able to defend you but yourselves? And at the end of the day, this roundtable needs to be re-examined, committed, so that there be some kind of restriction on those who sit on that roundtable, because they have a lot of voice where we don't. And we're the ones who are actually doing the work and who are out there going to the meetings and taking our time. I'm in a wheelchair, and I'm a cancer patient, but I work 8 hours a day for my development and for my district and for my organization. I just became a 501(c)(3). So at the end of the day, we could do many things, no matter what our limitations are. But this roundtable must be abolished or reconstructed. Now, dealing with the mental health task force that they're promising through NYCHA, it sounds great, like everything else. Like they changed the name, resident engagement to resident civil engagement. You know, everything has a new name, has a new face. I don't believe it till I see it. And with the problems that we now have with the homelessness in all of our developments, whether you have one building or 14, the idea is that there's not enough agency people to service those mental health situations. I know, because I've tried myself taking them out of the building and calling for help. After having this wonderful meeting at my development with NYCHA reps up and down, Greg Russ, they came and we had coffee and donuts and everything. And nobody showed for this young lady that needed help. And when they did send someone, there was 2 guys that looked like they just came off the corner themselves. So I'm waiting to see what NYCHA calls mental health task force. and who participates. Now, the security issues regarding home and cameras, I'm going to be honest with you. Some of us don't have that connection. Like Mr. Hall, you have Mr. Hastings. We don't all have that connection to get that money. For me, I need $2.8 million. And my cameras were instituted in the 70s. I still have the 70s cameras. So at the end of the day, that would be a great thing, Chief Secreto, for us all to get cameras. And I know it can't be done because the expense is immense. But many of us, like myself, are not going Section 8. I'm not going rat-a-pack. I'm Section 9, and I feel like I deserve it, just like anybody else. I've had 4 shootings since January. 4. And at the end of the day, I think I deserve to have those cameras. And I'm quite sure all of you feel the same way. And if NYCHA stop paying these people 6 figures in salaries for a change and start putting that money and investing it into the residents and their developments, it'll be a different situation. And that takes me to forced conversions. The young lady who was talking about her development was converted to RAD, you, miss, converted to RAD and they had no knowledge, that's illegal. That's illegal. Get you a lawyer. Don't listen to what they're going to tell you at NYCHA. Get a lawyer. Okay? ACLU, Bronx Defenders, not that good, but ACLU is real better, a lot better. And for the Capital Tracker, I've been on the Capital Tracker team for a year and a half. And it was originally on NYCHA's website. It was okay. The new Capital Tracker will tell you where the money's coming from for your project, how much it's going to cost. It will give you all kinds of information. The procurement, which means getting the contractor and making sure the contractor is capable of doing the work. It would show you where the money's coming from state, federal, city. It's also good to prepare yourself for Section 3 placements when there are big projects. Like I got roofing coming up. They keep pushing it back, and I know why, but they keep pushing it back. But at the end of the day, they're going to give me those Section 3 placements for my residents. And Section 3 is part of your rights under the 964 regulations, where you get to use your power to find residents in your development to work on that capital project. And in some cases, it might be 2 or 3 years. And that resident, it could change their lives. They will be able to have a good salary for 2 to 3 years. It could change their whole perspective on life. I've taken personally 3 guys off my own development who were overaged, had a past, one even had a conviction. And I started them as seasonal, and they're all permanent now. And I don't want to get emotional, but it has changed their lives and their perspective. So we must be vigilant when there are capital projects on your development. You sit at the table and you demand to know how many spots are available. And also important, if you're getting any positions that you can fill with your residents, make sure they're not paying them to $20 an hour. They should be getting close to union rate or the rate that they're paying their own workers. So I think that's the end of my list.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Elvin.
Young lady.
You have a question?
Hear well, so you're going to have to wait for the mic. I don't have my hearing aids in. I'm all jacked up, trust me.
Really?
I'm just really confused. Because a lot of the stuff,
Can you hold it to your mouth, Kaki?
I don't really want to hold it to my mouth because there's been too many mouths on here.
I'm sorry.
But a lot of the stuff that each one of you guys has been representing and saying, I don't have no knowledge of. Why am I in the blind? You know, of the cameras, like you're saying, you know, we don't have no cameras.
Right. And there's
You know
many
what I mean?
developments like yours
We
that don't
none.
have anything.
You know, it's
But
just,
your TA president, do you have a TA president?
I am the TA president.
Well, then you need to talk to me.
I want to talk to you.
I'm going to
Thank
give
very
you my
much.
number.
And
my
we
name,
have her
again, is
information
Dana
as well.
Eldon, and that's Dana. Last name is Elden. My phone number is 347. All right, I'll wait. 347-567-5459. And once you call me and we have a conversation, I'll give you whatever information you want.
Dana Eldon. She's from St. Mary's Houses. And as I mentioned earlier,
my email
is If you check the website in a couple of days, you will get all of this information on our website. I promise you, you will be able to look up her and everyone else that presented on tonight.
Now you get me to
So
watch
thank you. Let's give her a hand, everybody. Really valuable information tonight. I'm giving you your phone.
I have 2 of them.
Yes.
One is just for y'all.
Okay.
You can pay for our phones too.
So we had Mr. Hall and we had Ms. Eldon. We wanted to give them the first voices for our Q&A segment. And now we want to do our monitorship update. We have R.A. Alika Ampra Samuel with us. And it's appropriate that she's sitting with our monitor team because she's always had a great voice for the residents. She's always contributed such valuable information at our meetings. So I'm sure that she has something to say on tonight for the Bronx. So on to you. You have the floor.
Okay. I'm not going to take a lot of time because I'm always here to listen, but I do apologize for getting here late. I was sitting in traffic for 2 hours and 15 minutes. And I decided, let me jump on the local street, and it kept telling me, just go on Madison. Go. So I apologize. I tried to get here on time. I'm usually on time, if everybody knows. So my name is Alika Ampry Samuel. For those who do not know me, I serve as the regional administrator at HUD. I was appointed by President Joe Biden in January of 2022. And so I represent, in these settings, our amazing Secretary Marsha Fudge. I'm not sure if anybody is familiar with who Marsha Fudge is, but she is no nonsense, very serious, and a little blindsided. Mm-hmm. And so let me just kind of level set for a second. I work for HUD, and HUD is the overarching government entity on a federal level that have systems in place to work with not just public housing agencies, but all housing entities, our senior housing, our Section 8 buildings across the country. And the reason why I just wanted to do a quick level set is because the reason why we are all here right now in this room having this meeting, and I say this every time I'm in front of residents, is because of your voices. It was the residents who decided that enough was enough and filed a lawsuit. And we were all sitting in front of the Southern District of New York in 2018 in front of a federal judge. And at one point, the conversation was about receivership. A lot of the powers that be wanted to have a receivership, meaning that the federal government would come in and take over the housing authority, the same way you see that with Rikers Island and jails across the country when the federal government will come in. And so that was the conversation with NYCHA. And there was a settlement agreement that led to the federal monitorship. And we have never seen before that these types of town hall meetings on a regular basis in every single borough. And that's because of you as residents deciding that enough was enough. And so I'm not sure if everybody in this audience knows that, but I felt the need to say that because this meeting didn't just happen out of nowhere. So there's power in your voice, right? But I also wanted to remind everyone that when we're talking about funding to Section 9, that's not something that HUD have in their pockets. Our budget The HUD budget is controlled by Congress. This don't need to be a government lesson here, right? Right? And so we can only work with, you know how you work with what you got, right? And so I don't know if you remember a few years ago, everyone was talking about money under the, what was we all demanding? $500 billion, build back better, right? And we were all at the press conference and we all held up our signs. And that didn't happen. We didn't get $500 billion because we knew NYCHA needed 100, right? It didn't happen. And so what I appreciate that's happening in these meetings, these town hall meetings that we are having monthly and quarterly, is the fact that we are listening, there's a complaint, and there's something being done about it. That tracker didn't exist before this meeting. That tracker did not exist. So prior to me being the regional administrator, I was a city council member, and I was chair of the Public Housing Committee and held hearings every single month asking the residents to speak before the NYCHA officials. And so I want to remind everyone that those hearings continue to happen. And so continue to hold your elected officials accountable. There's no reason, when I was in the city council, I leveraged city council dollars with the state assembly dollars in order to get cameras in my developments. So there's not a reason why you can't have a conversation with Rafael Salamanca, who could work with, my point is, the same way we're holding the New York City Housing Authority accountable, the same way if NYPD was to stand up and there's some kind of shooting or, we have a problem with the police, you want to go and protest and hold police accountable, we need to make sure that we're holding elected officials accountable. And one last thing, I can't even count how many times Secretary Fudge has been in New York City since she got there. And her first trip was to the Bronx. This was her first trip and her first experience with tenants from a housing authority. And in the spring, there was a conference in D.C., and the New York City housing resident gave her the business. And right after that, she was right back here. And on Friday, our Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary, Rich Minocchio, is coming back again because he's having meetings with the unions to talk about what's happening with Section 3. And so we hear you, we're listening, and there are so many things that are happening, but the problems that we see at NYCHA did not happen overnight. I still got scars from when I lived in Marcus Garvey houses in Brownsville, still got my scars, and it's not going to change overnight. But there are people who care and people who are working every single day to listen to you and make changes with transparency and accountability. So I just wanted to put that out there. I'll be here for those who don't know me and just need my information. Y'all call me all the time and send me emails all the time so that we can be that added level of pressure on NYCHA. So we're here, and that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. Asha.
Thank you all for being here. First and foremost, we are here as the Monitor team to listen to all of you. You are our VIPs. We know that you are the eyes and ears on the ground. So as the Monitor is going about our business, we know NYCHA is saying one thing and you know the real story. And so that's why we're here, so that you know who we are, how to reach us, and how to keep us posted. And so we use this opportunity to hear from you, but we stress that this is not the only time. You can call us, email us. We have field team members who are in every single development. They have assigned developments. They know many of you. I've been out personally and met many of you. We are here for you. We work with and for you. And so we just wanted to stress that. I had a whole slide that I will skip in the interest of time, but I did want to say a little bit more about some of the initiatives that we're working on. You've heard the capital tracker referenced. That actually was born out of these discussions where we heard frustration from resident leaders, to your point, Ms. Sanders, who have reached out to elected officials, received money, and you don't see the project getting started. So the capital tracker was born from Representative Alika Opry-Samuels at one of those meetings saying, just like how the parks has the tracker and you can see what the projects are, where the money is, who's putting in the money, how far along it is. We need to have something like that for NYCHA so that residents can look and know what's going on in your development, to Mr. Hall's point, to have more transparency on these projects. And so this is an occasion where it's still in beta testing, so your voices can matter. Look at that tracker, see what's wrong with it, what's right with it, what it's not saying, and make your voices heard so that it can be something that really works for you. So that's one example of something that was born from us listening to your meetings, holding NYCHA accountable to say, make this more transparent and then work on making it better. So please reach out and look at the tracker and let us know your advice and your guidance about what else it needs. And you can say that. And so in a moment, I'll give the microphone back to Ms. Opry-Samuels to announce a hearing that's coming up. But a lot of the things that we're working on is in direct result to things we've heard you all tell us are problems. So I just wanted to emphasize that we're listening, and like so many of us around the room, we're here because we care. This is personal. My family's been involved, grew up in NYCHA. So my grandmother moved into the Lincoln when they first put the buildings up in 1947 and raised my mom and my 4 uncles there. And, you know, that's where I was as a baby. So for us getting this right is not just a job. It is deeply personal. You are my mother, my grandmother, my sisters, my uncles. This is about us getting this right for the residents of NYCHA. And, you know, as we all know, it's been an 80-year problem, so it's not going to be fixed overnight. But we need your help and your voice and your advocacy to stay on top of NYCHA so that we can start at least fixing the little things as we go along. So please just keep us engaged and keep us posted. And with that, I want to turn back to my colleague to make an announcement.
Thank you for that. Thank you. So next week, Friday, that's next week, right? The 22nd is next week?
Friday at 10 a.m., the City Council will be holding a Zoom conference and in person regarding NYCHA's oversight of $78.34 billion in physical needs assessment. If you would like to testify, just go to the City Council page and follow the directions, and you can register just like I do. I don't get to go physically to a lot of things, so I go via Zoom. It's easy. It's very easy. And if you have any problems, those of you who have got my number, call me. If you have my number written down, call me. I'm willing to help you.
And so even if you don't want to go in person, you could go on Zoom, but you could also submit written testimony that would be placed in the record.
Verbally, and then you can send your testimony in as far as email, so that it's written word in that session.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Alika. Thank you, Asha. Tamiko heads our pest and waste pillar area. Just give us an update.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tamika Williams-Moore. I work for the Federal Monitor, and I am on the pest and waste team. So today I wanted to discuss some pest issues in the Bronx. I know that the Bronx has been reporting a lot of pest issues with rats and things of that sort, so I just want to go over some of the reports that we do as the Federal Monitor. So we have an application, it's called the Waste Management measurement application, and what we do is we go out to the development and we do an assessment of the interior conditions and the exterior conditions. Today, I have with me Bronx River. So we'll discuss Bronx River. The last assessment was done in September, and the development has a weighted average from the inside, the interior, and the exterior, a weighted average of 3.09. Now that's out of 5, right? Okay, so with the waste management, there's a scoring card. It goes from 1 to 5, and you guys are right in the middle at 3. So that means that conditions aren't at its worst, and conditions aren't at its best. However, I can tell you that it has improved over the last couple of months, and I'll give you those numbers. In January, we did not do a WAMA score here in Bronx River. We did one in February. In February, you guys scored a 3.22. In March, you scored a 2.85. In April, you scored a 3.63. And then you started to go down. In May, it was 2.74. And then it was in June, it was 3.0. And now you're back to 3.09. Okay? I'll take a question.
It's going all around from Edward Velez about the waste management levels, because I got that email today with no information, just that it went to 888 people about waste management. So is that what?
I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's 2 different issues, right? So NYCHA's Waste Management Department sent an email out to all of the resident association boards about a waste yard project. They're going to do an introduction. They're going to give you some numbers, probably do some assessments, get your input, so that some of the waste yards could be redeveloped. Okay, so we're looking forward to that meeting as well. What I'm talking about is totally different. Through the federal monitorship, we have a team of investigators that actually go out and look at the conditions, everything, top to bottom. Safety issues, we look at pest and waste issues. We look at doors being broken. We're looking at cameras being broken, and we're looking at the garbage in the communities. We're looking at receptacles not being available for trash. We're looking at everything. We're looking at rat burrows. We're doing assessments of everything. We're looking at compactor rooms. We're looking in the basements. We are on the roof. We do see the issues that have been highlighted here with the homelessness, with the garbage, with the rats. We do see those issues as well. Going further, I know that there are some other developments here, and so I just wanted to give you some information that you can take home as well, okay? In some of the developments, the rats have increased. The rat populations have increased. They have increased, and we realize that, okay? There are a number of initiatives that NYCHA is working on to address some of those issues, okay? But there's also some things that you can do to help. Okay, and I'll go over those things. So in the Bronx River, in the phase of 2017 and 2019, there were 15, that was the baseline, 15 rat burrows, right? In 2003, in May, that went up to 28, and in June 2023, that went down to 23, right? So it's up from 15 to 23. So you see an increase in the rat population here in the development. Also, Claremont Rehab started out with 0, and they now have 9. College Avenue, East 165th Street, they had 0, they have 1. Claremont Rehab, 1. Highbridge increased from 4 to 5. Melrose increased from 59 to 65. Okay? Patterson houses increased from 82 to 251. Okay, St. Mary's Park increased from 32 to 94. More houses increased from 24 to 41. Claremont Parkway, Franklin Avenue increased from 0 to 12. Union Avenue, East 163rd Street, increased from 1 to 4. So now I'll tell you what we have proposed as the federal monitor. What we've asked NYCHA to do, question?
Yeah, I think we have a few questions
Okay, so I'll
after
just...
those numbers, Tamika, but go ahead. What can we do? And then
Yes.
we'll get to the questions.
Okay. So what we've asked NYCHA to do is to create an active rat control program where they have a dedicated rat team who are going out, collapsing burrows, and treating the grounds. Okay? Currently, there is a machine that NYCHA is using, and it is called the Burrow RX. They're using that at Patterson, Mitchell, Mott Haven, Butler, Webster, Morris, and Adams. Okay? Now, they can only use that building, they can only use that machine 10 feet from the building, okay? Because they utilize carbon monoxide to suffocate the rats, okay? So this is an increased measure that NYCHA is now taking to try to get a hold of the rat conditions in the developments. Now, what can we do, right? They also have a resident ambassador program where the exterminators are going to your apartments, doing the exterminations, but they're also teaching you how to best keep your apartment in shape so that you don't have pest issues, right? We're talking about sealing, we're talking about caulking, we're talking about taking the garbage out at night, we're talking about not having dishes in the sink overnight. So those things, right? Preparing your apartment, being in charge, and you actually being the inspector, and you going around into your apartment looking at holes and looking for entryways and, different ways that you can best mitigate some of the pest issues in your building and in your apartments. The other program that NYCHA is running right now is MPII. Well, we done the MPII last year as well. We're doing it a little bit different this year. This year, what we're doing is we're looking at the units that have not put in pest control tickets in the past 12 months. Now, there are a lot of residents who are not putting in pest control tickets, extermination tickets in your apartment. And we're pulling those work orders. We're going into the apartments with NYCHA, and what we are seeing is that some of those apartments are infested. Okay? So we're going to ask you, please put in the work orders. That is the only way that we can combat the issue. Okay? So that's number one, right? We need you to put in the work orders. With the Resident Ambassador Program, the reason why we're seeing low success in the Resident Ambassador Program is because there's low access to your units. We really need you to participate with the programs and initiatives that NYCHA has instituted. We really need you guys to answer your phones, to answer your doors, to allow pest control into your apartment so they can provide proper treatment. And also, please call NYCHA if your telephone number has changed. Okay? Please call NYCHA if your telephone number has changed. Call the CCC. Update your information, because that is another issue that we're finding with NYCHA, is that they have a lot of the incorrect contact telephone numbers for you guys. And it's been an issue, and so they have been popping up at your doors and wanting to get in and asking for access, and they've been denied because there has been no notification. So we're asking that you take the time out to reach out to NYCHA and say, hey, my number has changed, here's my updated information, so that they can keep you abreast of all of the new initiatives that are going on in NYCHA. Thank you. Take questions.
Thank you, Tamika. We'll take a few questions about pest and waste. Oh, sorry, right here. I want to talk to somebody that hasn't spoken tonight, please.
Okay, so going to the pest problem, I'm from Sotomayor. Our major pest problem is rats. Now, the issue actually becomes, like yesterday, it rained, our basements are flooding, our whole first floor is flooding. So now what's happening is it's all forcing all the pests outside some of the first floor apartments are seeing an increase of mice and rats. It's ridiculous. Yes. So what do we do? What are we doing? And the problem also is that it's affecting our compactors. So a lot of the compactors are broken, so which means people are taking their garbage, they're having to take it outside, and it's leaving a feast for rats. What do we do?
Thank you for your question. So a lot of communities are dealing with that very same issue, right? So the field team, we actually go out to these safety councils. And during the safety congress, they have safety associates. These safety associates in each development, they go around, they do an assessment of safety conditions as well. And what they report is there are rats in the compactor rooms. Now, pest control should be treating each basement each month. However, we're seeing that NYCHA is not following up with that. We will follow up with Sotomayor after the meeting. And if you want to give us your contact information, we'll follow up with you as well.
If you can get,
thank you.
Chase, if you can get her information, we want to make sure that we have her information.
Hi, my name is Emily Batista.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Good evening.
And I'm from the senior buildings at Bronx, Neck, Balcom, Randall. Right now, our 3 senior buildings, the compactors are all locked. We can't throw our garbage away. We have to throw it in the hallway in a black garbage bag. NYCHA's not picking that up every day. Friday, that garbage was in the hallway until yesterday. Blocking the fire exit. Residents or seniors, some of them are homebound, the home attendants cannot leave them to go downstairs to throw away the garbage. Your buildings are on lockdown with the garbage. So the rodents are coming out in the hallway because with the heat we had last week, that smell was bringing them into the building. I have a cat in my apartment. I've caught 6 baby mice in the last month. There's no reason for that.
Can you give me the name of the development again, please?
Randall Balcom Sr.
And we're going to take her information as well. Chase, please.
We will follow up. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Milagros Diaz. I'm from Sotomayor Development. The only thing sometimes I have problems is when I report that something's broken in my apartment. Now, usually they said they'll be out like in 24 hours. 24 hours, forget about the 24 hours, you can stay home 48 hours. They still don't show up. Sometimes I have a problem with a leak in my sink, and sometimes, I got like my tub. I had a leak in my tub like last year. It took them 4 months for them to come and check my leak that I have in my tub, and it was hot water. Thank God I don't have no kids. I have my granddaughter once in a while that comes in. But it took them 4 months for them to come to my house to fix that hot water. I kept repeating the tickets, and they kept saying, we're going to send someone over. Someone came over, checked that out, we're going to send someone else. Waited another 2 or 3 days, I waited a week. And then I got pissed off. Then I had to cut them down, which I don't have to cut them down. If I put down a ticket, you're going to give me 24 hours, or you're going to give me 48 hours. I don't have to be hunting people down after 2 or 3 days that these people doesn't come down my house. I pay my rent. I've been there for 14 years. There's no reason why I have to hunt these people down. Because if I'm not working right now because I'm in Social Security, but the point is that if you're going to tell me you're going to be home on Friday, and I stay home because I'm not going nowhere and I have an appointment, okay, I'm going to skip that appointment, but wait for them. I don't hear from them until Monday or Tuesday, and that's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? For 14 years. For the past 2 or 3 years before I moved there, they were fine. We had a lot of maintenance people. Now, if we have 10, that's a lot for the whole area. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing I have to worry about when I make my ticket. You know what I'm saying? I keep my house clean. I don't have a problem, but most of these people have to realize that I have an issue. And I know everybody has a problem, but when I put a ticket in, please. I can
assure you that the Federal Monitor is working with NYCHA on accountability and their response time. Yes, Ms. Eldon.
Hi, my name is Wilco.
Joining OPAs and having that transparency, is there any intention to include RADPAC and the trust developments together with Section 9 developments that are left so we can go back to having our district meetings, which were full. Like Mr. Hall is in the North Bronx by himself. I'm in the South Bronx and soon to be myself, so to speak. I think that we're losing our unity, which I know that's not righteous interest, but I think that we need to be together and having these discussions more often than just meeting the monitor. I think that the more we educate our TA presidents and their boards, they will be more fluid in contacting Ms. Samuels or contacting
Well, that's one thing we learned tonight, that there needs to be more communication among the resident association leadership. Yeah. Yes, yes. So we are taking notes about that tonight. Thank you, Ms. Eldon. Another question, because we're right in our Q&A, and we started late tonight, so I really appreciate everyone's patience. I'm going to come on that side.
My name is Melissa Delgado, and I've been living in Sonia Sotomayor for about a good 40 years. I've been having lead in my apartment 4 times already within the 5 years. They want me to go to a hotel with a cat, which I'm not doing it. And they don't take it upon themselves to go to my apartment and check up. I've been having rats going in my apartment. I'm beating them up like crazy. And they're not doing nothing. And then we have a problem outside with a pit bull that's killing these cats and leaving the cats in the street with their intestines hanging out. I don't know.
We're going to take your information.
Done and so on, but they know how to knock on your door when they want rent money. When it comes to fix anything, nothing.
Did you say that that was the lead abatement tempo?
I have
the
lead
tempo program
in my kitchen and my bathroom, and they want me to go to a hotel for.
So it sounds like she's a part of the lead abatement that they're trying to relocate you to. So we'll.
That is the tempo program. That is NYCHA's tempo program, and they are.
A lot of people that has done this, when they came back to their apartment, they have come back, people staying in that apartment while they fixing the apartment.
We need to follow up.
Like quilts, sheets, pillows, and half the time beer. I'm not letting nobody stay in my apartment.
Can I just make a recommendation?
Thank you.
When the survey, when there's a survey that goes around to all of the residents that have been a part of the tempo program, please, ma'am, I don't want you to miss this, okay? When the survey goes around to all of the residents that have participated in the tempo program, please take the survey. Take the survey and write out all of the issues that you experienced, okay? And if you know anyone else, no, the survey will go out to you in your emails. And if you know anyone else that was a part of the tempo program, please encourage them as well to take the survey.
And you can also find
Thank you.
information about the survey on the Federal Monitor site. We just launched this on the site. You can click into that and it'll direct you right to the survey.
Norma, don't go away. I'm going to add just a little different, every issue that was discussed here. Before I leave, I need to say something, and it's going to be what Norma said and what the sister said. We need to come together, Norma. We need to wake up our tenants. We need to get involved. And you said enough is enough. I've been saying that. Ya basta. Ya basta. Enough. NYCHA lied too much and has taken our dignity, our respect. I am from 1471-73 Watson Avenue, affiliated with Sonia Sotomayor. I'm the TA president. My name is Reverend Carmen Hernandez. 50 years community work all my life. Lived in the South Bronx. Now I landed here in Soundview. Grew up here. My grandmother lived right here in Bronx River all her life until she passed away. And let me tell you something. Enough is enough. NYCHA has lied. And let me tell you, they've been trying to sell my development and kept it quiet. Trying to make Section 9 rad in my development, to make it privatized, to get rid of us, to get rid of our tenants. Are you listening to me? Get rid of us, the seniors. Right now, our building burned on August 8th. And the first thing they told my tenants, you want to move? Use their vulnerability. And we right now going stressed. You see the keys that I got in my neck? My senior, she caught a COVID in her apartment. Her apartment destroyed on the 5th floor. And I went 3 o'clock in the morning yesterday to be with her. I haven't slept. Taking care of all my needs of my tenants. All the development in NYCHA, not only mine, in the office management, our tenants, our black tenants going through abuse. My Latino tenants are going through abuse because there's no Spanish language speaking. And so our seniors have to be quiet. Are you listening, HUD? They have to be quiet and taking abuse because they don't know how to treat them in there when they come into that office. We have single mothers with 4 children in 1 bedroom apartment, and they apply for transfer, and they're still waiting for 5 years, 6 years. I have a mother with an autistic young lady, a black mother, single mother, and she's still being a civil a crime, and she still asks for a transfer. A mental health mother going through some changes, and still they don't want to transfer her. And NYCHA have the audacity to say that they care. Please do me a favor. Enough is enough. This is not about them. It's about our tenants. And Norma, you should have been pissed off a long time ago. To have your senior go through that, honey, you should have called me a long time ago. We would have got our shops in here. We could have got everybody up in here to make some changes, because this is discrimination against humanity. And let me tell you something. When it comes to humanity, Reverend Carmen Hernandez will not stand for it. And honey, I will not stand for it. They might call me troublemaker. They think that I stand for Latino. I stand for black. I stand for Chinese. I stand for anybody, because God created us. And God do not stand for any discrimination against humankind, because he created this earth. And people, we need to care about each other. We look what's going on in this world. Right, Garrett? What's going on? What's going on, people? Listen, NYCHA, you gotta be happy that you are living in a new comfortable home, not paying too much rent. You gotta start caring where you live. We gotta take responsibility. It's not only NYCHA, it's us. You know what they're thinking about us over there? Do you want to know? Well, let me tell you what they think about us. Because a few people from the up there office, you know what they tell me? That they laugh at us, that they think we are nobody. And you know what I tell them? Well, let me teach you something. We're going to teach them a lesson, that when we gather together, Norma, and do a rally with all the tenants, we're going to teach them that they got to respect us, that we ain't nobody, we are somebody, that these seniors, they work all their life. They didn't ask for them to you know, where they live. They got us working slavery, working low income. Honey, they got us working like $10,000 a year, $12,000 a year. We didn't ask for that. They got us working in 2 jobs and 3 jobs. My mother had 9 kids, and she worked her bottle up to make sure I got clothes on my shoulder, to make sure I got food on my table, and I had to give up my job to go and take care of her and take care of my brothers. So please don't tell me what I gotta do. I got this handicap. You know what I got handicapped? Because I had to raise 9 brothers and sisters, and I had to raise Soundview community here. I had to raise thousands of kids in this community. And they were brown, they were black, they were Latinos, they were human beings. Soundview was my people. NYCHA are my people. And if nobody likes the way I talk, that's your problem. Talk to God. NYCHA, enough is enough. NYCHA gotta come to us and ask for apology, and stop lying, and stop working with us, and start saying, you know what, we're sorry, let's work together, let's stop selling the building, and stop putting us, we are not going red, we're not going in trust, because the only person we trust is God. Do you understand? So we got a message for them, and I'm waiting for Lisa, because she owes me an appointment. So this is what's going to happen in my message. And I want to stir everybody up. You want my number? 929-348-7747. Vamos a unirnos. Ya basta. Tenemos que unirnos. We got to stop being lazy. and work together. Norma, let's get together.
Thank you, Reverend. Thank you. Thank you. We're coming to a close, everyone. Coming to a close, I know. Yes, absolutely.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank
Good
you,
evening.
Carmen. She said a mouthful. I'm the TA president of the Soundview Houses over in the Soundview area in the Bronx.
Soundview?
Soundview Houses. I will make mine short. Edna, I will be in touch with you. Secreto, I will also be in touch with you. We do have a lot of issues in Soundview Houses, but tonight is not the night to bring everything to the surface because, like you say, you don't show your drawers in public. Anywho, thank you. I will be in touch with you guys.
What's your name? I'm sorry.
Ann Johnson.
Ann
Soundview
Johnson.
Houses.
TV. Ann Johnson. Thank you
Annie
so
Johnson?
much. Thank you.
I just wanted to ask one question, Ms. Tamika. You was talking about the rats. That's sorry about that. So in Bronx River, you said that we went up and down, but I don't know if that's so true due to the fact that we're about a concrete place. We have construction going on. There's a hole in our ground that's been in our ground now 6 months with some water pipe, and no one has been there to do anything. When you leave, you can actually see the bulldozer still there with a hole in the ground. And we have an abundance of rats. We have a beautiful garden right across the street we can't even utilize at a certain time because the rats come out and stuff. And then as far as people not being home, the problem is when we put in these ticket numbers, because I'm one of them, I'm a person that called for an exterminator once a month because I want it to be consistent. They'll tell me 24 hours, and I'll stay home from work. Or I'll have my son stay home from work. And they never show, and then the ticket is closed. And to be a TA president, to tell me that, Norma, nobody was home, come on, I always, I believe my residents, but at sometimes they overact. I do it, we all do it. But I just think some of your statistics might be a little wrong, especially here, because when you leave here, actually, right in front of the park, you'll see them run right across your feet. They'll actually say hello. So I just think that some of the statistics might be a little maybe outdated, or the people are not doing complete, or at the time that they're coming, because if they come in the daytime, you're not going to see any rats unless they're sick.
They have to come in the daytime so that they can see the rat burrows. Once they see the rat burrows, they can tell whether it's an active rat burrow or whether it's dormant. So the issue that you have with the construction site is that the construction sites are dormant, they're dark. I don't know what type of work that you guys are having here in the development. Is it facade work? Is it?
I came out of my building and found a big hole, fenced in, nobody cleans it, it's full of garbage. Like I said, we don't blame nature for everything, because we have some nasty residents at the same time that don't know to walk 10 feet to the compactor. But in this area, we don't know what it's there for. It's a big hole.
So if you have a capital project going on currently in your development, pest control treatments are a part of the contractor's obligation. They have to treat, yes. In every capital project on NYCHA's properties, there is a section in there that speaks to pest control. And they must obtain a vendor that must treat the site. It's in their contracts. So I would challenge the presidents. If you have capital projects going on in your communities, you need to get a hold of the contract. You need to go to the progress meetings, which they have mostly weekly. Yeah. Go there, get the updates, see what's going on with the pest control as it pertains to the contractor obtaining a vendor. Now, NYCHA also has a part in this. However, if you have active construction sites, they are not allowed to go into the fenced-in areas.
They have a secretary, an advisor or monitor. They contact the president. They have
the contact is supposed to give you an update because we've had scaffolding for a whole year now, and that's the major reason why we have rats infestation.
Yes. Yes, they are. Everything behind the fenced area is under the contractor's contract. They have to maintain those grounds as long as that area is fenced in. They have to clean the area. They have to treat the area for pest control. And they should be coming back periodically. If the project is dormant, there is no work going on, they should be visiting that project periodically to ensure that the grounds are clean. Listen, we'll just say it like it is, right? Residents throw trash out of the window, right? And so you have these fenced-in areas where residents are throwing trash out of the window, the project is dormant, NYCHA doesn't go in, and so your development looks dirty, right? And it's...
And we're building 5. So now the garbage is deposited.
Yes. And that's another issue that we're working with Waste Management to try to get some garbage cans and containers in the developments. So that's another issue that we recognize.
Thank you so much. I know we're gonna be in touch, Norma.
I just want to say thank you, Ms. Hudson. I thank you to the panel. I wish the federal monitor was here. I would have definitely loved to meet him. I just want to say thank you to everyone that did come out and stay, but definitely thank you to the panel for listening and being here. I really hope that we can work together to make a change. This is actually the first time I'm meeting all of you guys, and thank you once again from Bronx River Houses.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank
you
you
so much.
everyone
Thank you.
for tonight. Thank you for coming. I know, but listen, so tonight is not just one night. We will be in touch with all of you. We'll have our next meeting in Staten Island, November 14th. We have our website on the big screen. Email us, call us, so we can talk to you about these issues. And we have more time to really get down to the meat and potatoes of it. But thank you, everybody. Thank you for staying around. Thank you. But we'll stay around. We're going to end our recording, but we'll stay around to answer more questions.